Good afternoon. Welcome to Special Report here on TV. This is our midday edition. It happens every day at 1 p.m. Right now we are waiting for Doug Ford's press conference. Today he'll be joined by the Deputy Premier, Christine Elliott, and also Stephen Lecce, the Minister of Education. That'll be coming up shortly. And just before we start, I'd like to thank KC Securities for being our title sponsor of Special Report, both the AM edition that happens at obviously 8 a.m. each morning, and also the 1 p.m. midday edition as well. Matter of fact, Dan, the owner of KC Securities, is my guest host this week for Monday to Thursday. So he'll be with me again tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. and then also Thursday morning at 8 a.m. as well. And on Friday, he will be doing the weather for us as well. So I'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for Dan and I for the morning show for the next few days. I'd like to say hello to Colette Linden, my co-host, who is watching this right now. She's off right now for some personal reasons that we'll get into at a later show. But for the time being, hello Colette, and keep your chin up, and I hope everything today goes well for you. Okay, first thing I'm going to talk about is the weather. If you take a look outside, this is the cam for outside. It's raining so hard that the camera can barely see anything. We are under a special weather advisory, which means more than 50 millimeters of rain in a 24-hour time period. As you can see on the radar there, the first part of the storm has passed us, but we're now getting hit with the second part. The rain will continue into the evening and possibly into tomorrow as well. It will not be as heavy rain tomorrow as it is today, but it will still be rain tomorrow. So right now we also have isolated thunder showers as well. We're at 16 degrees. We could go up to 19. The low is 14. So we're actually trending more towards the low temperature today than the high. Tomorrow the high will be 17, the low will be 12, and rain not as bad as today though. Thursday it's going to be a possibly cloudy with rain and sun. It could be all over the place in terms of the temperature, a low of 13 and a high of 21. So at least by Thursday we're getting back into temperatures with at least a 2 in front of them. The weekend though, the forecast for the weekend, it's looking much better than today and yesterday, and it will be hopefully a nice warm weekend so you can actually go to the beach and enjoy the outdoors. Our feed has just come up now for Doug Ford, his press conference that's coming up. Just before we start that, I want to ask a favor. I mentioned this morning and yesterday. The Alzheimer's Society here in Sault Ste. Marie, their giving is way down. Every year, they have to raise 45% of their budget, and the donations in May were 82% below the donations in May last year. That means they're only bringing in donations about 1 out of every $5 that they were raising in the month of May back in 2019. So if you can donate to the Alzheimer's Society, please do. Please go to their website to find out how you can. They would greatly appreciate it at this time. Last week we were also raising money for Arch, which is the local hospice. They're behind in their fundraising by about $25,000 this year. All of our local charities are hurting right now because the people are not able to donate the money that they normally would. Plus a lot of their fundraisers they can't do because they're large social gatherings. So they're only limited basically to anything that they can do online. So anything you can do to help out Arch or the Alzheimer's Society, please do. My grandfather passed away from Alzheimer's, so it's something that's near and dear to my heart. And so if you can help them in any way, shape, or form, please do. Now, let's talk about COVID-19. Today's press conference, we're going to learn a little bit more about what's going to be happening in education. However, yesterday the cases spiked back up over 200. They went up to 216 new cases yesterday. And also, yesterday was the first time that someone under the age of 20 in the province of Ontario passed away because of COVID-19. There's 10 deaths in total yesterday, and our first one for someone under the age of 20. Hospitalizations are staying steady. Right now we have about 288 people in the hospital because of COVID-19. However, the amount in both ICUs and on a ventilator is going down. We now only have 75 in the ICU and only 54 on ventilators. Now, for those of you who live near the YMCA here in Sault Ste. Marie, you're going to see some pictures coming up here. But last night, just before 8 p.m., a ton of police cruisers showed up just outside the YMCA. Now, there was not an issue with the YMCA. The issue was that there was a man who had a gun who pointed it at a female that he knew, which was found out afterwards. And obviously the police responded very quickly to that, and many of them did. At one point there was 8 different police cruisers on site just next to the YMCA. What we know so far is that a man was obviously arrested. We don't know his identity yet, but there was no risk to public safety, and there was no one was harmed during this time period. And it ended up being that there was no charges laid. The reason being is it was not a real gun. It was an artificial firearm, and artificial firearms, you cannot be charged with any gun crimes because it's not a real gun. So when you see a story like this, you got to wonder, like with all the police that show up, and then because it's a fake gun, you can't be charged with anything. I don't know. Things like this make me wonder if we shouldn't have more stricter regulations when it comes to guns, especially if you have a gun that looks real, until the police actually get the gun and look at it and find out that it's fake. Yeah. So anyways, that's what happened with yesterday over on McNabb Street. For those of you that live in that area, we're wondering what was going on. Now, it will be in 2 minutes, we'll be going to a commercial, and hopefully Doug Ford will be on after that. But first, we're in the States. There's been many protests, and up here in Canada as well, also in other countries in the world, such as the UK, protesting racism, particularly systemic racism that happens to be in police departments and so on. Now in NASCAR, they banned Confederate flags at their events just recently. And then also the other day, they have one black driver, his name is Bubba Wallace, who competes at the highest level of NASCAR. And in his garage, someone hanged a noose. Now, obviously, this was considered a hate crime, and the FBI are investigating it, and we'll see what happens there. But the FBI will look into it. Obviously, this is not acceptable. And actually, before the race happened yesterday, the driver was walked out with a bunch of other drivers who walked next to his car in support of him, and basically saying, hey, this is not the place to be hanging nooses or showing Confederate flags. That's not acceptable behavior, and we support Bubba Wallace and everything that he's doing in NASCAR to help go into a sport that has predominantly been, for decades, been dominated by white drivers. If you think of all of the big, Dale Earnhardt Jr., most of the big drivers in NASCAR have all been white, and Bubba Wallace is, breaking new ground here, and he shouldn't have to put up with this. I mean, this is something that is completely unacceptable. Doug Ford will be up in just a minute, but before he does, Trudeau today announced that the CERB benefit will be extended. It's going to take about another $17.9 billion for a 2-month extension on the CERB benefit. So if you have been receiving the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit, you will be able to receive it for 2 more months. This also means that you won't have to use your EI for the next 2 months. It'll get bumped 2 more months down the road, because if you are on the CERB benefit, during that time period, you bump your employment insurance benefits further into the future, so you'll go back onto your EI after the CERB benefit finishes. This means that the CERB benefit will have happened for 6 total months. They originally approved it for 4 months. It's going to extend it for 2 more. And right now, Doug Ford is coming out with Christine Elliott and Stephen Lecce, and we're going to cut to that now.
Well, good afternoon. Before I begin, I just want to share a message with our farmers. We're doing everything we can to help you out right now, and I'm 100% behind our farmers, and I will always have your backs. But I need your help as well. We have to make sure that testing is available to our farmers and to the workers. That's our best defense right now. So I'll say this again. If you're working on a farm and you're worried about COVID-19, please go get tested. Tomorrow we'll have more to say on a plan going forward that will protect our workers, protect our farmers, and get the Windsor region on track to join the rest of the province in stage 2. But today, I'm asking all the farmers to cooperate and ensure that testing is available to their workers. And if you work on a farm and you test positive for COVID-19 and you need to self-isolate for 2 weeks, you're eligible for WSIB. You'll be protected for your time off, so there's no excuses. Please go get tested. Since the start of this pandemic, our province of 14.5 million people, we've all worked together, and we can't stop now. And for most regions of the province, we're back on track because we put health and safety first for everyone, just like we have for our children. We made it a priority to ensure our kids can continue learning from the safety of their home. And when I became Premier, I made a commitment to parents. I promised you that we'd get back to basics. I promised our kids would learn the fundamentals once again so they could succeed in today's world, because the system we inherited was failing them. Half of our students were not meeting the provincial math standards. It was completely unacceptable. And our government took decisive action. We launched the largest consultation on education in Ontario's history. We listened to thousands of parents, experts, and educators. We released our new vision for Ontario's education system, one that placed a renewed focus on skilled trades and STEM subjects, such as science, technology, engineering, and math. We made a critical investment of $200 million in our 4-year math strategy. And today, I'm incredibly proud to announce the release of Ontario's new and updated math curriculum for grades 1 to 8. This is the first new elementary school math curriculum in 15 years. It's clear that a lot has changed since 2005, and our children's education needs to change with it. For the first time ever in Canada, students from grades 1 to 8 will learn coding along with financial literacy skills as part of the math curriculum. This means that starting in grade 4, students will learn about saving and spending. From grade 5, they'll start learning how to budget. From grade 6 onwards, they'll understand financial planning. These are everyday skills needed for lifelong success. And that's something every parent wants for their children. So starting in September, parents can look forward to a math curriculum that not only goes back to basics, but equips our next generation of leaders and community builders with the math skills they need to build a brighter future for all of us. And from where I'm sitting, that's a promise made, promise kept. And because of these changes, I've directed the Minister of Education to cancel EQAO tests in grades 3 to 6 for 2020-2021 school year. Together, we'll get through this, and Ontario be a brighter and stronger place for all. Thank you, and God bless the people of Ontario. Now I'll pass it over to Minister Lecce.
Well, good afternoon. We know that for many years now, math scores have been on a steady decline. It's why, under the Premier's leadership, we campaign on a promise to get back to basics and ensure our students are set up for success in today's competitive global economy. It is also why last summer we unveiled our 4-year math strategy to finally get our kids back on track when it comes to math. Nos élèves ne peuvent plus être lésés pour le compte. Our students can no longer be left behind. It has been 15 years since the math curriculum was last updated, and the world has changed since then. And so must Ontario's curriculum to keep up with the job market and with the future economy. We must set our students up for success and with a real competitive advantage when they graduate. We know that many of the jobs of tomorrow and today will increasingly require the skills and knowledge that the old curriculum just wasn't addressing. Fewer than half of grade 6 students met the provincial standard in math. That was down from 61% in 2009. For grade 3 students, for example, only 58% met that standard, down again 5% from 2015. As the Premier said, this is unacceptable. Parents have been clear, job creators have been clear, educators have been clear. And today our government is taking action. It's why we're proud to release the province's new elementary math curriculum that gets back to basics, and it starts this September. I'd like to walk you through the key changes in the new curriculum for grades 1 to 8. First, we're focusing on fundamental math concepts and skills like learning and recalling math facts, including multiplication. Yes, parents, that means memorizing timetables is back for our kids. Second, for the first time, all students will learn how to code. Starting in grade 1, computational thinking will give our students that competitive advantage. Third, financial literacy. Codified throughout the curriculum, it's brought into the earliest grade, at grade 1, to teach students critical life skills such as personal budgeting and understanding interest and debt. And last, using relevant, current, practical examples so students can connect math to everyday life, leaving the theory-based learning to the past. We know for a lot of students, math can also be challenging and a common source of frustration. To help students feel confident in their learning, we have also incorporated material on social emotional learning skills to allow students to learn from mistakes, to build perseverance, and support their overall well-being. This curriculum was developed by some of the brightest minds in the province. Its development was supported by leading-edge research and advice from academics, from math education experts, from job creators, industry, nonprofit leaders, and of course you, our parents. With today's announcement, we're also unveiling an interactive digital format of the math curriculum on the newly launched Curriculum and Resource website. So for parents, what this means is you're going to be able to easily see what your child's learning in the year prior and what they will learn in the current year, and how they will prepare them for learning in the next year. These side-by-side views on the digital platform make it easy for you to see how your child's math learning will progress. Parents can go online right now at ontario.ca/curriculum. So much has changed over the past 3 months, let alone over the past 15 years. We cannot delay, nor can we hope for improvement, unless we take decisive action to give students a credible pathway to post-secondary and ultimately to good-paying jobs. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to the phone line for questions.
Before we go to the phone line, and we're joined by Dr. Williams and Dr. Dirk Heyer, better known sometimes I say Dr. Dirk. But both of them have been absolute champions in increasing the testing. You've heard me talk about Dr. Heyer and talk about the team, Matt Anderson, how the testing has increased with the support of Dr. Williams. They're the reason. They're the brains behind the operation. I just want to thank both of them. They're doing an incredible job. I want to give a shout out to Dr. Ahmed in Windsor, Essex. You know, he's doing a great job. He's taking a lot of heat right now, but, you know, he's working his back off. And to the folks of Windsor, Essex, we're going to get back on track. And we're going to do it as quickly as possible with the support of the farmers and the workers. You know, I feel sorry for the people of Windsor, Essex and the workers and the farmers. But we're going to get through this. We've ended up getting through everything else, and we're still moving. By no means are we finished. But I just want to reassure the people of Windsor, Essex that I'm behind you, and we're going to get on track with the rest of the province sooner than later.
Okay, we'll go to first question.
First question comes from Caroline Alfonso from the Globe and Mail. Please go ahead.
Hi, Caroline.
Hello, Premier. Hi.
Hi.
This question is for the Minister of Education.
Yep.
Minister, why are you canceling EQAO for the upcoming school year?
Well, as the Premier noted, you know, we want to make sure that our students, our educators, and the entire education ecosystem is able to embrace and learn the new curriculum. We're unveiling a new elementary math curriculum, and we don't want to impose any stress on our young people. We want them to focus on adapting to this learning and to a curriculum that I think really reflects the priorities of parents and ultimately the necessary skill sets required in the job market. And so the recommendation and the direction we're providing is for grade 3 and 6 EQAO math tests to be weighed for this year as that learning commences, whereas grade 9 EQAO assessment would continue, and we are looking at a digital means to deliver EQAO assessments this year and into the future.
Follow-up?
Minister, is this the right time to roll out a new curriculum, a new math curriculum, when we're kind of uncertain about what the school year will look like come the fall?
You know, for the past decade, we have seen rather tragically every year, without exception, either at best stagnation or at worst real decline in math performance. I would argue from a competitive landscape, we must take action immediately to improve math scores. We were given a mandate by the people of this province to go back to basics, bring a math curriculum that actually reflects the priorities of the job market. There is, it is not, disconnected. The fact that we have twice the rate of youth unemployment, the fact that there's a 200% debt to income ratio for young people in this province. We've got to do better at the foundations of math, numeracy, financial literacy. These are the things that we know we need to do better at. And so I appreciate the broader challenge around us, but we must move forward with these necessary reforms to give hope to these students that when they graduate, they can aspire to get a good paying job, a job related to the future economy, a job that could, give them a yield to own a home one day. That should not be an aspiration lost with my parents and grandparents' generation. If we get this right today, we could literally change the course of the workforce, give them every opportunity to succeed in entrepreneurship, in leadership, in computational skills. I am proud that yes, starting this September, students in grade 1 are going to learn about financial literacy. They're going to learn about coding. I mean, only British Columbia and Nova Scotia have that capacity in Canada. The United Kingdom has it, very few jurisdictions. We've got to do better. And if we want to give our young people that competitive advantage that our government speaks about, it requires action immediately, which is why we're starting today.
Next question.
Next question comes from Travis Demrash from Global News. Please go ahead.
Hi, Travis.
Hey, Premier. I do have two serious questions, but on a lighter note, are you planning on getting a haircut tomorrow?
Well, everyone's asking me about this haircut, and I'm not going to get a haircut until everyone in the province can. I'm standing beside the people of Windsor, Essex. It's not fair that they can't get a haircut and I can go out and get one. So I'm going to stand with them, and I'm not going to go to any patio restaurants either until everyone in this province can go there. And I'm going to support the people of Windsor, Essex. I know it's not much, but I'll continue supporting them. So I'll get clipped after everyone else gets clipped down in Windsor, Essex. But I just want to tell the people I support them down there. And but thank you.
You'll go with the shaggy look. My next two questions are for the Education Minister. Minister, I do have a question about today's announcement, but Global News has learned that Peter Joshua has been removed as the Director of Education of the Peel District School Board. Can you confirm this and elaborate on this if this is the case?
Thank you for the question. As you know, the government last fall, serious allegations by the chair and vice chair and various trustees have been brought forward to the government on allegations of discrimination, particularly against black children, although it includes Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, and prejudice and discrimination against gay children and the LGBTQ community. Clearly, this board, the second largest in the province, no less, required some change. And that's why we called in reviewers immediately. It's why I imposed binding directives on the board. It's why I called in an investigator, Arlene Huggins, a leader in the community and a lawyer, to investigate the board's compliance with those recommendations. It was clear in successive reports that not enough was being done, that these children continue to feel victimized within their schools. And in this province, in this country, we're proud of our country's leading to Canada Day, but we have to do better. And no child should feel isolated as a consequence of the color of their skin or their orientation or their faith. That is not this country. It is not the country we strive to build. And so that's why we called in that investigator. It's why I then gave 2 weeks notice to the board to get me a plan, or we would take additional action. The board did request a supervisor. We followed through the next morning with a commitment of cabinet to proceed with bringing in a supervisor. In Bruce Rodriguez, we have done that. A former deputy minister who actually built and approved the equity secretary within the ministry. He was a former director in Toronto Catholic following their supervision. He was the former superintendent at Waterloo that built equity programs, and as a proud educator himself, he focused on at-risk kids. As the CEO of EQAO, his focus was on helping students get ahead, particularly from lower-income families. He has a passion for this, and I am confident he will lead forward. And today, yesterday, as you know, I gave direction to the superintendent to drop litigation against community members because of actions taken by the board. And today, the superintendent has taken action, and indeed it is true, to find new leadership for the board, for Peel Region, to really re-inspire these kids, to change the culture of that community, and to do better for for racialized children, for all children in that community that have for too long felt isolated and discriminated against.
And just on today's announcement, Minister, is it not a tall order, this is a follow-up on Caroline's question, is it not a tall order in the middle of a pandemic to expect educators to get up to speed on a brand new curriculum, students to learn a brand new curriculum without having a clear idea as to what the school year is even going to look like in September?
You know, we're going to be teaching curriculum to students this September. I choose a curriculum, and my preference is a curriculum that is relevant to the job market and actually relevant to the skills needed for our students. We're going to be teaching math in September to students one way or another. And our preference as a government is to proceed with reform that actually gives young people an opportunity to graduate and ultimately get into post-secondary with a pathway to get a job, a good paying job. And so we are, of course, cognizant of the environment we're in, but we also appreciate there's an imperative globally and provincially for us to move forward with a plan that reflects that modernization. And that's why, to be fair, the curriculum that existed in 2005, lots changed since 2005. I mean, YouTube was just launched in 2005. Xbox 360 was just unveiled in 2005. A lot has changed. And so should our curriculum. And of course, we have to proceed in this basis to drive the necessary transformation our kids deserve. We've decluttered this curriculum, reducing the expectations by 150, focusing on 6 strands that are critical to young people's success. We're offering mandatory professional development of all educators before September to really enable them to succeed, consistent webinars and access to development, because we want them to do well. And we recognize that for elementary educators, the challenges ahead. That's why we're equipping them with more PD, more investment, more support. And it's why we're giving every school board in the province more funding to successfully open in September and get our kids back on track.
Next question.
Next question comes from Cynthia Mulligan from City News. Please go ahead.
Hello.
And welcome back. That was Doug Ford's press conference. Stephen Lecce was there along with Christine Elliott, as well as the Chief Medical Officer of Health, David Williams, and another individual there as well. They didn't actually announce to us that those other individuals were going to show up at today's press conference. They announced a new math curriculum that will be starting in the fall. Certain grade levels, they will not be tested on that new math curriculum as the students have to adjust to a new way of learning math. But that will start obviously in September when kids go back to school. Now we got a bunch of Facebook shout-outs for this afternoon, so I'd like to say hi to Erica, Vanyo, Tammy, Bev. I'd also like to say hi to the following people that also liked us: my mother, my girlfriend Juliana. Hi to both of you. Also to Ruby and Debbie as well. Thank you very much for watching us on Facebook Live. For those of you who are watching us on other platforms, if you want to interact with us live here in the studio while we're actually doing the show, each special report is actually live to air. None of it is pre-taped unless we have an interview pre-taped or something like that. You can do so through Facebook Live. Tell us about any birthdays coming up, anniversaries, your kids moving out, anything that's a big thing in your life that you would like us to shout out on air. We can do that for you each day. I'd like to wish my co-host Colette Linden well right now. And now, before I end the show, we're going to talk a little bit about the Raptors. Now, the Raptors are technically still the reigning champs of the NBA for the time being. They are going to Fort Myers to start some training, and then they will actually be, we don't have a definitive start date other than it's early July, that they will start to have an NBA campus in the Disney complex at Orlando. You won't be able to actually go and watch the games, but you will be able to watch obviously through your television, or if you pay for NBA radio or any of that, you'll be able to watch that way and listen. But the way the NBA season will end, there will not be anyone in the crowd area in the stadiums and arenas, unfortunately, because all sports right now are not able to have anyone in their seats for the time being, but hopefully the Raptors can repeat this year. I know last year I was actually on a plane flying from Miami to Toronto when the Raptors actually won the championship. So that was a pretty exciting experience. But I'll see you tonight at 7 p.m. and on Chris Holtgorn's show, and I'll see you again tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.